Hey, everybody, and welcome to Benchmarking, Analyzing, Monitoring, and Forecasting, or if you want to use the acronym, BAMF. I'm Michael Vincent, and this is Zach Strickland, the Sultan of SONAR?
That's what they call me sometimes.
The Sultan of SONAR. So we're going to be talking about sonar here from a carrier perspective, from an enterprise fleet perspective, right?
Yeah, that's the idea.
Have you worked for an enterprise fleet before?
Yes, I have.
As have I.
Yes, we both have,
yes.
I believe. And we knew everything that there was to know.
Yeah. I shoot fire. I wrote for Roadway Express. We wrote the book on everything there is to know.
Yeah, so there was no need for any kind of outside information or influence because we always made the exact right decision.
That's right. So if you go find a roadway operations manual, they're about this thick. Mm-hmm. They'll literally tell you when and how to go to the bathroom. Just go find one of those and you're good.
You're good.
End of our show. Please stay tuned. No.
No.
We're making fun of what we used to think we knew, right?
Right. You get locked into a certain way of thinking, when you're sitting in the cube behind the four walls and you're thinking, here's the stuff that I'm analyzing over, and it kind of reinforces your behavior.
Right.
It's kind of like this self-fulfilling mechanism that you're like, oh, I knew that was going to happen, and this is why. And then there were those times where, we would sit there and go, we just totally missed that and had no reason to think that it would ever happen again.
Yeah, like winter.
Yeah, exactly.
Winter's going to happen again. Winter doesn't start on the exact same day every year.
Yeah, when freight volumes would plummet out of nowhere or capacity would all of a sudden just not be available and we would be sitting there hauling all sorts of freight with no rhyme or reason and then just say, look, we're doing great job selling.
Yeah, like when you called me like 3 years ago. Yay, everything's awesome in LTL land.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, $7,000 to move a truckload from Atlanta to Dallas was the reason LTL was so good.
Exactly.
In the Southeast at that time, everybody losing their pants on spot market volumes. Right?
Yeah. So,
hey, this is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
At least it is to me. Let's get into what these guys are here to learn about, and what we want to impart to these people is really that transparency and see what's going on a daily basis, right?
Exactly. So the name of the game for a carrier is maintaining utilization with as big of a margin as you can handle.
Yeah, absolutely.
As the market can handle.
Yeah. So if we have the ability to share my screen with our audience here, beautiful, and we do. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. This is, I think I have, what is it, a 3-month? I could put a 6-month on here. There you go. Outbound tender rejections, Zach. I describe these as tendered loads in the contract market that have been rejected by the carriers for some reason.
Exactly.
They either have something better to do that pays them more, could be spot market that's influencing it, or its volumes in that market are too big, I can't carry everything, or the market next to it has got so much volume that blew up, I'm going to do that instead as well, right? Or, as we saw in COVID-19, things just shifted. The market's fragmented.
Oh, yeah. We had an explosive amount of freight coming out of certain areas of the country, totally destabilizing truckload networks.
Right.
And that's kind of, there was this combination of high volumes and also disparate volumes. So those networks that were there before really had trouble keeping up with the pace. So you have 5 trucks a day coming out of Allentown going into Elizabeth. All of a sudden, it's 10 trucks a day going out of Allentown going into Elizabeth, when you only have 4 coming out.
And then past that, it got further exacerbated by not the same products they normally hauled,
right,
from and to not the usual markets, right? So there more volume going into markets that you don't normally end up empty at, right?
And that's kind of the ongoing story of what's going to happen after COVID.
Absolutely.
Is now we're going to see all these supply chains, this organization. A lot of shippers are now looking to alternative ways to making sure that their inventory levels are stable and supplied and available when consumer demand does have these spikes. So that means that they're going to spread things out a little bit more evenly and not necessarily rely on the traditional, pattern of looking at, Los Angeles, Dallas, Chicago, Atlanta, Allentown, et cetera, to keep, their inventories, in these longer haul patterns. You're going to have to make sure that you're covering a lot more regional, areas out in the rural markets.
Awesome. So here's the challenge. I've decided to change the whole show.
Okay.
Here's the challenge. We got 10 minutes.
Yep.
How do we figure out what we're doing today, bro?
Yeah. So you saw the tender rejection index.
Show it up here.
It's your first step. Because you're going to want to know, where is the market seeing some sort of change, rapid change in capacity, up or down, doesn't matter if it's loose or tight. You want to know, is the market changing today, this week versus last week, et cetera? Because in that information, you are then going to start a series of decisions that are going to lead you down a path to figuring out where your opportunities are and where your biggest risks are.
Right. So I've got commitments on a daily basis with contracted freight that I have to carry, that I have to take care of right here. Where are my spots that I need to look at because I'm in danger of dumping my customers in the grease? Yep. And where are those opportunities where maybe I want to jump out into the spot market, make some extra cash?
Exactly.
Right. So this is telling me what?
So tender rejection rates right now are extremely high historically, but they are trending lower here over the last couple of weeks. So we just had the end of the quarter, end of the month. Tender rejection rates are starting to come down. So that tells me I need to maybe rely less on the spot market for some utilization, or at least less than I did in the weeks before, in a couple of weeks ago. Maybe not necessarily, it's not a dramatic change by any means, but
well, you can see this right here, this big hump that you're looking at here is between the 21st and the 28th and really out to the 31st. You're looking at this end of quarter, end of month, just boom, just explosion. Right. And then this drop off, if it wasn't right after that time period, I'd say maybe there's something to it. But look, it bounces immediately. Right?
Exactly. So capacity is still relatively tight. But, for the purposes of this exercise, I'm going to stay kind of in the moment here, assuming that I've been in Sonar for a little bit now, and I've kind of made all these adjustments historically on a weekly basis. I'm now going to say, okay, this week, I need to expect a little bit less opportunity if I don't have enough pre-plan activity going on out there right now. Let's go ahead and check out
where OTVI real quick. Well, here's OTVI. I just want to show OTVI what's outbound tender volume. These are a number of tenders nationwide that are going, and you can see the spike last end of month and it drop, and it's going to start to level out right about here and start coming up through the spring as well. So there's nothing crazy going on here, right? Other than a rebound from end of quarter, end of month surge.
Demand is still very strong, so I can still count on a lot of contractual volumes coming through my network, keeping my capacity relatively tight.
Gotcha. So I'm going to quickly switch over to a map that I have pre-built, and I think I have it set to the one that we need to save time here, I believe. Let us see.
We come up on, is it now?
I got OTVI. All right, so I have outbound tender volumes are your color.
Okay.
All right, so the darker blue are the higher volumes, and this is a daily.
The daily.
And then the outbound tender rejects are the height, and let me zoom in a little bit here so you can see that a little bit better. Maybe I can change the angle a tad. There you go. Is that good? Yeah, that looks pretty good. So the color, darker blue are higher volumes. The height is the rejections, high rejections.
So here you can go in and say, okay, especially if you already have a list of your daily inbound where things are finaling, et cetera. Maybe I have a list of places where I don't have coverage. I'm going to start to sort those by some of these hottest markets. And obviously the higher volume markets with highest rejection rates are going to be those that are going to offer the most opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, you're exactly. Well, Columbus, even though it's a lighter blue, volumes are quite high.
Exactly.
Out of Columbus. So that 29%, which is outbound tender rejections, almost a third being rejected.
So that tells
pretty
me
tight market.
Yeah, that tells me that I've probably got a good chance of finding some spot freight out of Columbus.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And also,
if I've got customers there, they've got issues.
Exactly. So what I'm sitting here doing is I need to figure out a way to get more trucks going into the Columbus market as well, because that's probably going to apply.
Where might one find trucks going to Columbus?
I don't know.
Another market? Maybe Harrisburg?
somewhere else in the country.
Well, maybe Harrisburg. Doesn't Allentown move some stuff out that way?
Not that I know of, though.
No.
No. I mean, obviously, there's all these markets that you could go out and locate. You have shippers that are located in certain target markets.
Yes.
And you're going to know, in general, where your opportunities are on a daily basis with your own existing customer base. There is a longer-term use case here, however.
Yeah.
This is one that we missed on all the time because we would go out on, blitzes?
Yeah, sales blitzes.
In markets that had no reason to go in, that you had no reason to go on a blitz on. So this daily use case here, we're targeting sales, if you will, in a way, a targeted daily sales pattern here.
With a strategy?
Yeah, with a purpose and a higher likelihood of success.
Nice.
You can do this on the short-term basis, and you can also utilize this on a longer-term basis. Now, we don't have enough time to just break out into yearly modes and all that kind of stuff, but the same basic premise exists. What markets are showing the highest level of increases in rejection rates year over year, month over month, and also volume increases over the same periods of time. And you can go out and take these sales blitzes and target them, and you can grow your network that way. And a much more, it's almost like a formulaic pattern that you could you could follow this. Now, it's not
blowing my mind with this stuff, man.
I know, right?
Now, we're touching the surface with this stuff. This is just a quick visual of how to find those markets. And we used to say, and we still do, blue to blue.
Right.
When you're looking at these maps.
Right.
Right?
Blue we do like blue.
Blue is a great opportunity as a carrier or a broker. Going from blue to blue, you're going from a great opportunity to a great opportunity. If you're a shipper in one of these, not so great an opportunity. You're in trouble. You need to be looking and securing that capacity. So that's hence the point from a carrier standpoint. If you've got contracted shippers in those blue areas, you got to be covering them. And they're in trouble.
But also, if
you got more opportunity to get more volume capacity in there.
And if you don't have contracted shippers in those blue areas,
you can go find some.
You got a much bigger chance of finding somebody who's having trouble, especially if you already have a huge imbalance going into some of these markets. And maybe they don't have sonar
and they don't know it, and you become the carrier of choice.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. You want to move into something else here real quick?
Yeah, let's see what you got next, Mike.
What do we got here? Do you want to go here? Well, I was going to ask you if you wanted to go here, but so this is the weekly change.
Yeah.
Which is, it's basically the exact same thing. I've reversed it a little bit here just to confuse the audience and make sure that they're on their toes. The outbound tender rejection weekly is the color.
Right.
Now, and the outbound tender volume weekly is the height. So just to keep things interesting. It gets boring if I just keep it together. You know what I'm saying? It's way too easy. This is advanced stuff. This is not 101.
Wouldn't want to be straightforward.
No. I got to confuse it a little bit. It's just, it's my nature. I don't know why I do.
So now you're looking at a more near term, like this is if you are a dispatcher or somebody that's in sales and you're trying to fill a need. You know, your dispatch is telling you that I've got 5 trucks finaling in New Orleans today. You know, is there more opportunity here? Or, hey, maybe I need to grow the network in this period.
Yeah.
You know,
gotcha.
Where are my near-term changes in the market week over week that I can potentially take advantage of? Where are my best opportunities? Now, maybe I've got a ton of trucks finaling in Bozeman, Montana. I've got validation here that tells me that that's probably still not, it's not just a bad market in general to go into, but it's an even worse market after last week. We're seeing significant downward trends.
Yeah, so this can start to give you some idea of where and when the different large seasonalities that we all talk about are starting to occur, and some of those micro seasonalities like Gatorade season out in the Southwest, right? That we discover as we dig into these.
Exactly. And we do have reefer and van, you know, situated here. But you know what sticks out to me on this map is down there around Savannah, Port of Savannah, record month. Port of Charleston, record month last week. And we're seeing this downward trend week over week. So even though, you know, you're reading about huge volumes coming in, et cetera, this is telling you daily, like, well, what does that trend look like on the surface freight side that allows me to, you know, connect the dots a little bit more significantly? Like, there were record freight volumes, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're immediately transitioning to surface transportation.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Very, very interesting. One of the things, I don't think we have time to go into outbound tender market share on a map, do we?
Real quick. Got 90 seconds.
Okay. All right. And folks, this is a new show. It'll be on Mondays at 2. And so we'll go deeper and deeper and deeper into Sonar as we go. So I've got OTMS, or outbound tender market share, in a tree map here, a color tree map here. Can you explain this really quick?
Yeah, so tender market share, basically showing you the largest markets on the top left corner, upper top left corner, to the smallest markets, bottom right corner. And it's also showing you the delta, so the changes. So those percentages are the daily, weekly, yearly, monthly changes, depending on the little toggle that you pick up in the top left corner.
Which is up here. I'll just click on it real quick so they can see it. So this is as of last value. So this is daily.
So daily. So if you are looking to grow your network in a significant way, this is a good, quick, easy way to say, these markets are shifting. Los Angeles is now diminishing and Atlanta is growing. That's the type of use case here.
Yeah, and you can change this to go longer term as well.
Exactly.
You can look at yearly, which is interesting to watch when you start combining this with some of our the intermodal information we have, the ocean mission, and you can see how things start changing.
And also the maritime volumes.
Yes, in the maritime volumes, you can start to see what tariffs can actually do. Right?
Exactly.
We'll be on Mondays at 2 o'clock to go deeper into sonar and what you can use it for. Please check us out Mondays at 2 o'clock. Stay tuned for Anthony and Kevin Hill.